All right, this is the second half of the final exam review, okay? Extra credit. Okay, so here is number 7. Okay, so find the inverse, okay? So you write what they've given you here on the left, and on the right you put the identity. And then you turn the left into the identity, okay? So the 7 is pretty bad. I'm definitely not going to try to turn that into a 1. I'm going to turn that guy right there into a 0. So not great numbers. 7 and 2, I'm going to have to turn both of those into 14s, okay? So, sorry, my mic just went dead. Okay, so I'm going to go -2 times row 1 plus 7 times row 3 becomes my new row 3. Okay, so row 1 doesn't change. Row 2 doesn't change. Multiply -2 across the top, -14, 18, -8, -2, 0, 0. 7 across the bottom, 14, -14, 7, 0, 0, 7. Add those together and I get 0, 4, -1, -2, 0, and 7. Turning that 3 right there into a 1 is not going to be fun. Dividing by 3 is going to make fractions. So I'm going to make that be a 0. So I have to turn the 3 and 4 into 12s. So I'm going to go -4 times row 2 plus 3 times row 3 becomes my new row 3. So row 1 doesn't change. Row 2 doesn't change. Multiply row 2 by a -4 and I get 0, -12, 4, 0, -4, and 0. Row 3 by 3 and I have 0, 12, -3, -6, 0, and 21. Add those together and I get 0, 0, 1, -6, -4, positive 21. The next thing I need is to turn this right here into a 0. Okay, so I'm going to go row 2 plus row 3 becomes my new row 2. So row 1 doesn't change. Row 3 doesn't change. Add row 2 and row 3 together and I get 0, 3, 0, -6, -3, and 21. Now, if you look at row 2, 3 goes into everything evenly. So I can turn this 3 right here now into a 1 by dividing by 3. So row 2 divided by 3 becomes my new row 2, and I don't make any fractions. So postponing it is fine. Even if it's at the very end that you finally make it a 1, it's fine. But just do not do fractions. It's so much tougher if you do. Okay, so divide by 3. I have 0, 1, 0, -2, -1, and 7. The next thing I need is a 0 right there. So I'm going to go 4 times row, -4 times row 3, plus row 1 becomes my new row 1. So row 2 doesn't change. Row 3 doesn't change. -4 across the bottom, 0, 0, -4, 24, 16, and -84. And then put row 2 underneath it. Add those together and I get 7, -9, 0, 25, 16, and -84. Now I need that to be a 0. So I'm going to go 9 times row 2 plus row 1 becomes my new row 1. So row 2 doesn't change. Row 3 doesn't change. 9 across the center, 0, 9, 0, negative 18, negative 9, and 63. Right row 1 underneath it. Add those together and I get 7, 0, 0, 7, 7, and negative 21. And now at the very last step here, you can see that if I make that a 1, it's going to be clean. So row 1 divided by 7 becomes my new row 1. Everything in that entire row, 7 goes into it. So row 2 doesn't change. Row 3 doesn't change. Divide by 7 and you get 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, negative 3. So the answer is, the inverse is 1, 1, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, and 7, negative 6, negative 4, 21, and I'm done. You guys, if you're done with your final, and what you need to start doing is you need to start checking. Okay, so how could I check this problem? Well, it would be a little extensive, but you could do it. If you took A and multiplied it by the inverse, you should get the identity. And then if I took the inverse and multiplied it by A, I should also get the identity. Okay, so you could check it. Okay, question number 8. Okay, so solve this. If you've got 2 logs and a number that's not a 0, condense and convert. Okay, so that's going to be log base 8 of x to the third divided by 2x equals 1. Well, then inside of that, those x's are going to cancel. So that'd be an x to second on the top, a 2 on the bottom, and a 1 right there. So I just reduced it. Then convert it. 8 to the first is x squared over 2. Well, 8 to the first is just 8. Cross multiply, x squared equals 16. Square root it, x equals plus or minus 4. And then when you check it, you must check it because it was given in log. You go from the beginning. So this would be log base 8. If I'm checking x equals 4, of 4 to the third minus log base 8 of 2 times 4 is equal to 1. So to put the left-hand side in your calculator, here's what you push. You go log 4, close it off, raise it to the third, divided by log 8, close it off, minus log 4 times 2 is 8, so we could put in an 8, divided by log 8, close it off, hit enter, and I got not a 1. Let's see, let me do it again. Okay, I think I might be putting this in wrong. I'm just checking what I've done. Okay, let's go to x equals negative 4. I know that one's not going to work. So it's log base 8 of negative 4 cubed plus log base 8 of 2 times negative 4 is equal to 1. Well, you're taking the log of a negative, so it's invalid. Okay, so 4 to the third is 64. So I'm going to go log 64, close it off, divided by log 8, close it off, minus log, 4 times 2 is 8, close it off, divided by log 8, close it off, enter, and I got a 1. So it had to do with me putting that 4 to the third in weird, I think. Okay, here's question 9. A radioactive material decays according to this function. Okay, so here is your equation. Okay, A is the initial amount. That should be A sub 0 is the initial amount, and A is the present after T days. Assume a scientist has a sample of 90 grams right now. When will 60 grams be left? Okay, so the fact that he has 90 right now makes that A sub 0 be a 90, and they want to know when there will be 60. So do I put my 60 here for T or A sub T, the new amount? And that is going to be over here. So I know I'm going to have to convert it because my variable is stuck in the exponent. So if I divide, I get e to the negative 0.032t is equal to 60 divided by 90 is going to be 0.6 repeating. So you can write it as 60 over 90. You can write it as 6/9. You could also write it as 2/3. Okay. Don't write it as 0.6 unless you stored that value in. Okay. I'm just going to write it as 2/3. So I'm going to convert it. So it's the ln of 2/3, log base e of 2/3 is negative 0.023t. To solve for t, it's the ln of 2/3 divided by negative 0.023. You never want to round anything until the very end, and that's only if they ask you to. So it's ln 2 divided by 3, close it off, divided by negative 0.023, hit enter, and they want it 2 digits, so it's 17.63, and this is time, and if you read days, so this would be days. Okay, now let's check it. Everybody hit store enter, and then put this left side into the right side into your calculator and see if you get a 60. So go 90 second ln negative 0.023, membar, enter, close it, enter. I got my 60, I just checked it. You guys, checking these answers is so important. There are tons and tons and tons of problems that are checkable on this final. Okay, find the term that contains a b to the 6th. Okay, so see this 7 right there? Then my top number of my combination is going to be 7. Then do you see how this 1 is there? That 1 must come first. The negative 3b to the 2nd must come second. So don't put the negative 3b squared first and then the 1 second. It has to be in the proper order. Okay? They want the one that contains b to the 6th. So remember, power to a power rule is you multiply those exponents. So 2 times what gives you 6? That would be a 3. So if that's a 3, then this down here is a 3. And then the exponent of the 1 would be 7 minus 3, which is 4. So there's your setup. Okay? And now when you simplify it, here's what you do. Hit 7, PRB, right, enter, 3, enter. Then I'm going to go times. I'm not going to put in 1 to the 4th. It doesn't do anything. Parenthesis, negative 3. I'm not putting the b in. I'm going to do that myself. Close it off, raise it to the 3rd, hit enter, and I get negative 945. The b is to the 2 times 3, which is a 6. You guys, if they ask for the term, that's your answer. If they ask for the coefficient, then the answer is negative 945. It's just the number. So read the question, which term of the expansion? So they want the whole thing, so there's your answer. Okay, question 11. Solve the system. Okay, so I cannot use elimination because the x's and y's are squared in the second equation and they are not in the first. So I'm going to have to use substitution. Do not solve anything in the second equation for x or y. It's terrible. Equation 1 is actually not going to be that bad because there's no number here with the x. So if you bring your 2y over, you know x is 2y plus 5. or 5 plus 2y. Now go right there and put that 2y plus 5 in. So go 2y plus 5 in parentheses squared plus 3y squared equals 3. Now, a place where lots of you guys are messing up is this is a binomial, so you have to FOIL that. So 2y plus 5 times 2y plus 5 FOILed is 4y to the second minus 10y minus 10y, pardon me, plus 10y gives me a plus 20y. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 3y squared equals 3. Now I know I'm going to have to factor, so I'm going to pull my 3 over. So I have 7y to the second plus 20y plus 22 equals 0. Sorry, I'm just recording. You're fine though to come in. I'm not just talking to myself. So 7y goes to 7y and plain y. The 22 could go to a 1 and a 22, a 2 and 11, and I think that that is it. So if I sit and see, and I'm trying to add, I think those are my only options. So I'm going to try quadratic. Even if it factors and I use quadratic, it's still going to be fine. So I'm going to come over here and do quadratic. So I have y equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of 20 squared, which is 400, minus 4 times a, which is 7, times c, which is 22, all over 2 times a, that's 2 times 7, which is 14. Okay, now no decimal answers because they didn't say decimal. So on the inside I have 400 minus 4 parentheses 7, close it, parentheses 22, close it, hit enter, and I get a negative 216. So I don't have the answer key in front of me, unfortunately. It is pretty strange. So I have y equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of negative 216 over 14. I feel like maybe I did that wrong. 28 times 22. Nope, I did not. Okay, so let me just look over it really fast. Okay. So I don't know if they have the answer as no solution or if they went back in and plugged that in. I can't imagine that they did. So I'm going to say no real solution. And I'm going to end it right there. Before I finish, I'll double check with the answers, with the answer on that. Remember that the answer key is on Canvas, okay? Okay, question number 12. Okay, here's number 12. Solve this inequality. So remember, whenever you have a absolute value, the first step is always to get it alone. So I have the absolute value of 3 minus 2x, pull the 1 over, is less than 4. Remember, the next step is to make the less than an equal sign. So it looks like that. Now split it into 2. 3 minus 2x equals 4, or 3 minus 2x equals negative 4. One thing I remember is that some of you keep the absolute values right there. But on that step, when you split it into 2, you don't have any more absolute values, so make sure you drop those, okay? The 3 comes over, so negative 2x equals 1, divide, x equals negative 1/2. Right here, pull your 3 over, so you have negative 2x equals negative 7, and so negative 7 over negative 2 is a positive 7 over 2. You can totally check this. It's a little awkward, but you can do it. So let's just run through really fast how to check the negative 1/2. So if you go 3 minus 2 parenthesis, negative 1 divide 2, close it, hit enter, you get a 4. Inside of here, the number would be a 4. Okay, so basically you have that. The absolute value of 4 is a 4. Oh, you know what? Actually, we are not done. Because it was not an equal sign, sorry, it was an inequality. So then, so sorry, go to your number line. Negative 1/2 is here. 7/2 is here. There's no equal sign, so those are going to be opened. Less than, if this symbol right here is a less than or a less than equal to, it always means inside. So you shade it like that. So in interval notation, -1/2 to +7/2, both with parentheses. Okay. You can check it. It's not like a foolproof check, but you can check it. A number between those, maybe like a 0. If I plug the 0 in here, I'd get the absolute value of 3 plus 1. Well, the absolute value of 3 is 3. Is 3 plus 1, which is 4, is that less than 5? Yeah. So I tested that region and it turned out to be true, and that's the region that I said was the actual answer. Okay, so I'm feeling like I did that right. Okay, here's question number 13. Okay, so here is your formula. And this was at one point, by the way, an actual final from Weaver. So it's just an algorithm that can sort numbers from least to greatest in t milliseconds. Okay, so I'm going to say t stands for milliseconds, and that n stands for the number of numbers that we're trying to sort. Okay, so how many numbers can the mini computer sort in 1 second? So all we're going to do is come right here and let time be a 1 right there. Okay, I'm going to pull my 1 over. So I have 0.00339 n to the second plus 0.001143 n. Pull the 1 over, it becomes a negative, and you have -6.95. Don't forget your equals 0. I'm going to do quadratic formula. So I get n equals -0.001143 plus or minus the square root of. Now, I'm going to break my own rule, but I'm going to be careful. I'm going to put parentheses around what I'm squaring. So I'm going to go 0.001143 squared minus 4 times 0.00339, that's A, times C, which is -6.95, all over 2 times A, so that's 2 times 0.00339. Okay, now they want it to the nearest whole. I can go right to my answer. I'm going to add parentheses like that. Okay, so I'm going to go parenthesis, -1 plus, not -1, sorry, parenthesis, -0.001143 plus second x squared, parenthesis, 0.001143, close that parenthesis, hit x squared, minus 4 parenthesis, 0.00339, close it, new parenthesis, -6.95. Remember here you go close it, close it, close it, divided by parenthesis, 2 times 0.00339, close it, enter, okay? And I get n equals 45.11028, okay? I know it's the nearest whole, but I'm going to write it like that for a second. I'm also going to hit store enter, okay, just for checking purposes. Then if you hit up, up, go to the right where that plus is, change it to a negative, hit enter, and now you get a negative 45.447, we'll say 45. Now, T stands for, that's N actually. You can't have a negative number of numbers. So I'm going to say this is an invalid solution. And then to the nearest whole would be 45 numbers. That would be your answer. The reason I had you store, I'm sure you guys all know, is because I want you to check it. So if we put that in there, and for n put in a membar, I should get a 1. So go 0.00339, membar, enter, x squared, plus 0.001143, membar, enter, minus 5.95, hit enter. I just checked my answer. So, you know, please, 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 please check. Okay? Okay, here's number 14. Okay, so they tell us f of x is 2x minus 1 over x plus 2. Find the inverse. So f of x is the same thing as a y. So that's really what my equation is. To find an inverse, I switch the x's and y's. So it looks like that, okay? And then I cross multiply. So I'm going to get xy plus 2x equals 2y minus 1. Remember that I'm solving for y's. I have y's on both sides of the equation, so I got to get those together. So I'm going to go xy, that guy stays. This 2y comes over here and I get minus 2y. This 2x comes that way and I get negative 2x minus 1. Now I'm trying to solve for y, but I can't add xy and negative 2y together because they're not like terms. So I'm going to take out a y and I'm left with x minus 2 and then equals negative 2x minus 1. People get confused. Do I put the negative 2x minus 1 on the bottom or the x minus 2? Well, guys, look, you're trying to get the y alone. So if you divide by x minus 2, now the y is alone. Don't write it as y equals. I know they've been picky about that before. So put f inverse of x equals negative 2x minus 1 over x minus 2. There's your answer. Okay. Then they want the range of the original of f of x. Well, the domain of the inverse is x cannot be equal to 2. Therefore, the range of the function is y cannot be equal to 2. Okay? And that is part B of question 14. Okay? All right. The last one is number 15. Okay? So the equation is f of x is 2 to the x plus 1 plus 1. So they want the domain, they want the intercepts, they want the asymptote, and they want the graph. Remember, this is the one where I want you to graph it first, okay? And then answer all those questions based upon your graph. So my parent graph is y equals 2 to the x power, okay? Remember about a parent is that it always hits the point 0, 1. And if you go right 1, you go up 2. So your graph looks like this, and there is your asymptote, okay? Now, there are no reflections on this. If there was a reflection, if it looked like this, this would be a reflection across the x because it comes first. If it looked like this, that would be a reflection across the y, okay? But there is no negative. If there was, you would have to reflect first as the next single step. Don't do more than one if it's a reflection, but it's not a reflection. So this plus 1 right here tells me to go up 1. That plus 1 right there tells me to go left 1, okay? So I'm going to go up 1. My whole asymptote is going to go up 1, okay? And then I'm going to take the points that I have over here on the left and move them up 1. So I was at 0, 1, go up 1, and left 1. And then I was right here at 1, 2. I'm going to go up 1 and left 1, and I'm going to draw it in, and there's my graph, okay? Now it's so easy to go back, look at that graph that we just did, and answer these questions, okay? Look at A, find the domain. Look at the x. Travel from left to the right. The domain is everything. If they don't tell you how to write it, that's acceptable. Find all the intercepts. You guys, I expect you to go x-intercept, y-intercept. Well, look at the graph. It's never going to touch the x-intercept, so I'm going to put none. Where's it going to touch the y? Well, I know it touches the y-axis where x is a 0. So go to the equation and go f of 0 is 2 times 0 plus 1 plus 1. Well, that's 2 to the first plus 1, which is 3. Okay, now, I don't know what's up, but my graph is not showing 0, 3. Either my x-intercept is wrong or my graph is wrong. I don't know why I'm struggling so much. Okay, so definitely hits 0, 1, definitely hits 1, 2. There's my graph. Then I'm shifting up 1, and then I'm shifting right 2. Right 1. There we are, up 1, right 1. I was at 1, 2, up 1, right 1. It's so strange. I think I've had a long day. We're going to skip over it and I'm going to come back. Question C, find the asymptotes. Okay, so it's gonna, that asymptote hits the x-axis at 1. Okay, now I know this is crazy, but I'm gonna have to jump. I'm just gonna have to do a pause right here for a second. Okay, so just hang on for 2 seconds. Okay, sorry about that. So weird. This answer keeps stringing. Okay. So sorry. This is correct right here. Okay. This is correct. This should actually be a Y. That is correct right there. So it's my graph. Okay. Not really sure how that is the graph, but no. Up 1, left 1. Okay, I'm going to do it again. I really don't want to re-record this, you guys. I'm so busy. Okay, so here's your parent graph. I know this parent graph is right. Look, it is y equals 2 to the x power. So if x is a 0, y is a 1. If x is a 1, y is a 2. There's my graph. Okay, then look at the transformations. I'm going up 1 and left 1. I went right. That's what I did. See, now I don't have to re-record. There's my XY axis. There's my asymptote that I'm going to shift up 1. Okay, let me start over with this graph. Here we go. Asymptote goes up 1, right there. Okay. Then find that point, 0, 1, go up 1, left 1. There it is. 1, 2, goes up 1, left 1. Perfect. There it is. And you can see from the graph that the intercept is 0, 3. Okay, great. Now let's go back to 11. Okay, so question 11. I'm just going to do it again. Okay, so we have x minus 2y is equal to 5, and x to the second plus 3y to the second is equal to 13. Solve that for x, and you have 5 plus 2y. Put that right there. So you have 5 plus 2y to the second plus 3y to the second is equal to 13. FOIL that out, and you get 25 plus 10y, that's plus 20y, plus 4y squared, plus 3y squared is equal to 13. I didn't have a 13 on the right side, that's what I did. Okay, so clean this up, and you have 7y squared plus 20y. 13 comes over, and you have a plus 12 equals 0. Now when you factor that, it's going to go to 7y and a plain y. The 6 goes here, 6 and 2 like that. That gives me 14 and 2, which 14 and 6, which adds to give me 20. Signs are the same, they're both positive. So I get y equals a negative 6 over 7 and a negative 2. So I'm going to go right here, negative 6 over 7, negative 2. The nice thing about substitution when you're forced to do it is the last step is easy. So it's x equals 5 plus 2 times negative 6 over 7. Okay, grab your calculator and go 5 plus 2 parenthesis, negative 6 divides 7, close it, hit enter, and it gives you a fraction or a decimal. So if I go second PRB, enter, it gives me 3 and 2 seconds. So 3 and 2 sevenths. Let me do that again. So go 5 plus 2 parenthesis, negative 6 divides 7, close it, hit enter, ugly decimal. So I go second PRB, enter, and I get 3 and 2 sevenths. So I'm just going to write it like that. Do the negative 2. X equals plus 5 plus 2 times negative 2. That's 5 minus 4, which is 1. Okay, you can totally check your answers. Store this in for A, store this in for B, plug it here, get a 5, plug it here, get a 13. Do the same thing here. Here's your A, here's your B, plug it there, you checked it. Okay. Sorry that wasn't perfect. I'm not re-recording because I still have to do the other two. So hopefully that'll help. Thanks, guys.